So you got a hand for us here?
This hand is from a 5-10 home game. The game just started, so I think we're five-handed and $3,000 effective.
510 home game. Do you want to say the area or the state or anything like that?
Oh yeah, it's in Pennsylvania.
Oh, you playing a home game in Pennsylvania? Hmm.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of them actually.
Really? I was going to say, because you have a lot of legal choices, right?
hmm
Yeah.
This one's about like an hour or so outside of the city, so
Oh, okay.
gets a lot of the like middle Pennsylvania players in.
All right. So you're playing 510, five-handed, 3K effective.
Yeah, which for reference is the minimum buy-in. Oh, also we tip at the end of the hand, so there's no rake taken out of the pot.
Okay.
All right, so I'm under the gun and I open to $30 with King of Clubs, King of Spades.
So hero here under the gun, which is what, like the effective, almost like a cutoff, right? Type of thing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that actually.
Well, I mean, when you play short-handed, you just just lop off the positions, right? So it's like cutoff, but well, it would be, I guess, the effective hijack, right? Hijack,
Yeah.
hijack, cutoff button, small blind, big blind. So I'm actually going to put, so hero opens to how much?
$30.
30 with king in the hijack. Okay.
So I guess it would be the cutoff is next act, makes it $100.
So cutoff 3 bets to 100. Okay.
The other players fold and I 4-bet to 225.
So it goes fold, and then you, hero, 4 bets to 225. Is that what you said? Now, why did you choose such small sizing? Because as I remember, this is going to come into play here when we go through the hand reading.
I think it was definitely a mistake. I'd say almost all the poker I've played in the last couple months has been like online tournaments, so I just kind of autopiloted the 4-bet.
You just autopiloted the 4 bet?
Yeah, I was used to like much shorter stacks. But I think like 300 big blinds deep, I much prefer like 275 or 300.
Well, I mean, right. And I mean, the only thing that I'm just going to say here is that because he 3-bet, I mean, obviously it's a shorthanded game, so we know that, right? It's a shorthanded game, but you have 4-bet so small, I just don't know if there's any hand with position that this guy is going to 3-bet and then fold to a 4-bet.
Yeah, exactly. And that definitely comes into play later in the hand.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So you 4-bet to 225, and then does he call?
Yeah, he just calls.
Cutoff calls. And now we are away to about 450, starting with about 3K, right?
Yeah, I think it's 465 because
Okay, 465. All right, 465. Okay.
So the flop comes out King of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds, Eight of Diamonds.
So King of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds, Eight of Diamonds. So monotone board.
Yeah.
And you have top set.
Yep.
Okay.
So I bet 125 and he calls.
So hero bets 125 and cutoff calls. And now we are at 715, right? So how about your sizing here? I mean, so you're going about 30% of the pot. I mean, it's a 4-bet pot. So, I mean, the ranges should be pretty tight, but again, it's almost like he's going to have a range of a 3-bet pot. Like I don't see how he's 3-bet folding anything pre.
No, definitely not.
Because he's getting such a good price. So the ranges are a little bit wider than what you would normally sort of use in a standard kind of 4-bet type of, or land with a standard 4-bet type of scenario. Now, obviously, you unblock top pair with king, but I feel like he's going to call with any diamond almost above an 8 here that he has. Because usually like the 9s and the 10s, if he was structuring correctly, those are always going to be pairs. Or if he had like ace 10 off or something like that, he's still going to continue because it's a gut shot here to a queen. I don't know if he's doing this with like ace 9 off. So, you know, one of these ones where I'm not 100% sure like what the theory would say the sizing would be, but I might tend to go larger here, just knowing that he's going to call with any diamond here, pretty much above an 8. And he might be very well forced to call with any pair that he has above an 8 as well. So,
yeah, that's a good point. I was just thinking about going small because I have top set, obviously, but...
Right, but it's a monotone board, though. I mean, it's a monotone board. It's connected. It's different than just a 2-flush board, right?
Right.
So...
All right, so the turn is the ace of hearts.
Okay. So the turn is the ace of hearts. Okay.
So I bet 375 and he calls.
So hero bets 375, which is just over half the size of the pot, and the cutoff calls. Again, if I used, so what is the ace change here? You always think about like, well, would a guy always five bet ace ace here? It's five handed. I would think that he would when you use such small sizing. So I tend to discount that. There's obviously it's less likely that he has ace king now because there's another ace out on board there. I just think that so what are you like, what calls 375 that doesn't call, say, like 500 here?
Yeah, I definitely agree the sizing was too small. I feel like a lot of what I'm trying to get called by, especially on the flop, is like ace X of diamonds. And if they're calling on the flop, then when the ace comes on the turn, they're definitely going to be calling.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if there's any hand here that folds for like 500 that calls for 375. So that's why I would tend to go 2/3 here on the turn. Now, with that being said, if he's always 3-bet calling because you're 4-bet sizing, he probably has way more flushes than you ever do here. Because I don't know if you 4-bet ace queen of diamonds always or ace 10 of diamonds always, but if he's 3-betting any suited connectors and he's always calling because you're small 4-bet sizing, he has way more flushes than you do. And a lot of times that gets reflected with the fact that you can't start just piling in because he has a quote unquote nut advantage. I don't know if you give this guy credit for being at that level, thinking that, but
Yeah, I think he's a pretty strong player.
so you put in 750 here on the turn, and the pot now is 1465, I believe, right? 1465. Okay.
And so the river comes the 6 of diamonds.
Oy.
And yeah, I know, right? So I check and he bets $1,000.
So hero checks, and cutoff bets 1,000. So it's 1,000 into 1465. Now, I assume the reason why you're sort of thinking about this, because a lot of people on paper would be like, well, how can you call? Is you think that there's a possibility that he might be turning something into a bluff that he doesn't think he's got showdown value with, right?
Yeah, it was also the fact that in the moment, I may have been thinking too one-dimensionally about this spot, but to me, it was almost like a pure MDF situation. So I was just thinking, like, what hands do I get to the river, check, and are better than what I have?
Right, because you're not going to have many, well, and the question would be like, what would you play here as a check? Like, would you play nut flushes here as a check too? So, I mean, you can go down that rabbit hole. So, of course, what the caller is saying that, the guy's betting 1,000. So it's about 2/3 the size of the pot. And that means that he really only needs to, have this bluff work 40% of the time. So the hero is supposed to like call with 60% of the hands that he arrives with. And is king king here one of, the 60% that's played this way? And you could absolutely make the case that it is, but I would look at this like when you go 375 on the turn here, what hand that is not at least top pair gets to the top pair being at least an ace, gets to this river that feels like it needs to bluff? And the reason why I'm saying ace is because I think like if he had ace queen here, no diamond, I think he just checks it back. Maybe ace 10, ace queen, no diamond, he just checks it back. So when he calls your turn bet, what hand does he get here with that needs to bluff? Which means what hand is worse? What hand does he have that's obviously one pair that's worse than an ace? Would it be like king, queen off? King, queen suited here? Something like that? Would he want to take a showdown with that?
Yeah, I don't even know if king queen is calling the turn, to be honest.
Right, because it's a monotone board, right? So, I mean, that's the problem here. And then if you had even gone larger, if you had gone like 500 on the turn, it's just, God, he just ends up. I mean, it's just crazy. And this is, yeah, I mean, definitely it's a weird spot with like an MDF type of situation. And then it kind of makes you think like, if you had the nut flush here, this might be a very unique scenario where, say, you had like ace queen of diamonds or something like that, or ace 10 of diamonds, you might actually want to check the river, especially if you block ace X, because of the fact that he might want to turn some hands into bluffs, or there just might not be any more way that you can get value. I mean, I'm trying to think of that though. If we're saying that like he just doesn't have many bluffs, yeah, it's a weird little spot. If you had ace queen of diamonds here, so the best possible diamond that he could have, right, would be what, the 10 of diamonds or the 9 of diamonds. How does he call the turn though? Yeah, I think you probably have to bet with ace queen of diamonds. So I don't know what else you're checking here, but
I could maybe be checking aces with the ace of diamonds.
right. I was thinking of like the flushes types of things, but man, so what about any other hand that he continues with here that would he, so like what about king jack? Of course you block. Does king jack ever need to bluff here? If we're saying that he's got ace queen and ace 10 and that's not going to bluff, it's going to check behind. You heavily block king jack.
Yeah.
And sets, like say he's got a set of jacks or set of eights, I kind of think that those just want to check it down. So
I guess you could be turning ace jack into a bluff.
ace jack. Yeah, but if we said that like he's going to check back like ace queen or ace 10 here, no diamond, why would he need to check back ace jack?
No, that's a good point. I think I just wanted him to be bluffing.
Yeah. So what ended up happening here?
So I call and he has red queens.
Yeah. That's queen. Yeah, it's just like, it's just so hard for him. You know, it's such a weird, like, kind of very sort of extreme spot. Well, it's good that, I mean, not good for you, but that player at least knew that he could take, you know, queen of diamonds for, I mean, that's the other thing that I said sometimes if you somehow had the nut flush, if you checked and got a guy to value own himself with queen, but the thing is he's still calling with queen with a diamond. That's the issue here. Like, that's why I would still probably bet nut flushes, because we'd be like, well, if we had nut flush, we can get value. The queen will bet, you know, so maybe it wasn't ace queen of diamonds. Say we had like ace 10 of diamonds or ace 9 of diamonds or ace 5 of diamonds, right? The queen when diamonds will bet, and then maybe he's going to bluff with something. But you don't know that the queen of diamonds is always going to bet, and the queen of diamonds is always going to call. That's the thing. So, interesting one. But thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it.